What is one of your craziest client stories?
So I got this one ready.
My craziest client story.
There were like people with knife, with guns, with trying to attack each other.
We're talking about like a really long rabbit hole of like fucking weird people.
He's like, yeah, I want snake scales on my dick.
I have a couple.
I mean, the craziest moment I had is when someone just passes, when a client passed out without me even putting on a stencil. I guess the alcohol fumes just kind of freaked him out a little bit, and he thought he was in the hospital, and he was just like, whoop, I'm out. I'm like, huh.
Have to keep going?
No. I mean, because it was before we even got the stencil
So
on.
we didn't even start at all.
We didn't start at all. He just smelled the fumes, and he's like, I can't do this.
So my craziest tattoo client story would have to be like my first year of tattooing, and it really sucks that it was 20 years ago because it's been hard to top ever since. So I had a guy come in, and he was what's called a zoophile. So for those who don't know, like a pedophile is someone who's like in love with children and they feel like they have an emotional attachment. So a zoophile is someone who has an emotional attachment to animals. And so it's, some people would say bestiality, but that's like a fetish. Zoophiles get really mad about that. So he got a dragon tattooed on his forearm with a and it said protector of the old ways or something like that. It was from a movie. And he told me stories about like he used to bang lizards and shit like that. And he was telling me how he actually, this is a true story, he masturbated in the movie theater watching Shrek because there's that really, like he went to like a midnight showing of it and there was like a really hot dragon in it. So he came back and got a second tattoo from me. And this is the crazy story. That wasn't even the crazy story.
He just comes in and he's like, hey, so I want to get a tattoo. She's like, okay, great. What kind of tattoo do you want to get? I want to get a snake on my penis.
I did these butterfly wings on this guy's ass one time, and he wanted them like all in and like the whole ass. So that was kind of, he was quite the diva, for sure. He had to like bend over. It was so fucked up. It was like, cause he wanted he wanted them coming like out of his ass. So it was, yeah, he had to bend over for that one.
So one of my favorite weird people, like the tattoo itself was pretty whatever, it was normal, but like I was living in Tennessee outside Nashville, and there was a whole thing where we did a lot of trades at the shop and we happened to be right near an army base. So you end up trading people for a lot of guns and Pelican cases. Pelican cases, super useful. Pelican cases sponsor me. So that's all well and good. But like, I ended up tattooing this guy. He walked in and he was like, oh, hey, do you guys do trades? I'm like, yeah, sure, what do you got? And he goes, well, I have like an AK and some stuff, but like, I didn't want to just like walk in here with it. I'm like, oh yeah, bring it in, that's fine. So he comes in and it's like this fucking absurdly like a 14-year-old at the mall decided to go, this is what we need. Not just an AK, we have to have like a fucking 80 round like drum mag on it and a fucking like laser sight and all this shit just like unnecessarily strapped on it. I was like, yes, this is the dumbest thing ever and I love it and I want it. I need it, like let's do it. So, I mean, when you're near an army base, some guy's bringing in like this fucking rifle and short haircut, the whole 9 yards. And I kind of go, oh cool, so like what do you do in the army? He goes, oh no man, I work at McDonald's.
So on his other forearm, he got a dolphin with a gaping pink and it said zoophile forever. And this is a true story, like I have the pictures still to prove it. And it's what's called a zoophile is someone who's in love with dolphins. And I was like, okay, and he told me the story how he went to Mexico, saved up a whole year to swim with the dolphins for an entire day. So swimming with the dolphins for an hour is a lot of money. So this guy saved up like a whole year to swim like a whole day. And when they stopped watching him because they felt like he was safe around the dolphin, he started petting the dolphin. And he said the dolphin was into it, like, and he like had sex with a dolphin. And it's crazy because like this story could keep going on because he got caught and got beat the hell out of and put in a coma, and now he's not allowed back in Mexico. Like, I don't know how you get banned from Mexico. Like, I don't know if that's a possibility, but it happened to this guy.
This guy like literally ends up just getting up
Like, no warning whatsoever. He's getting his back tattooed. He just literally just gets up and then just walks into the center of the room and sits down and does this, like, to calm himself down. And I just thought, okay, so this is happening. And it turned out like a few weeks later, because he was telling us, like, just overshare, because I think some people, the second that you put a needle to their skin, they just spill out all their problems and they tell you literally everything about themselves, their entire life story. And he was one of those guys. And unfortunately, like, when he got his tattoo finished, because he had to come in like a few months later to get it finished, he had spent some time in a psychiatric home. So he wasn't just a crazy client, he was, unfortunately, the poor guy was very mentally ill, and, you know, we just happened to, like, interact with him at one of those moments before he went away for a little while.
Wait, a snake on your penis or your penis to be a snake? And he's like, he wants his penis to look like a snake. So he wants snake scales, 360 wrapped around the whole shaft. I'm in a shop full of guys. Thankfully, a couple of them had tattooed penises before, so I had, a little bit of advice or whatever. And then...
What's some advice that you were given?
So one guy told me that not to have him erect, that it's better to tattoo the skin while it's flaccid. I get the stencil on second try, I believe. I want to say it was the first try, but it was probably the second. We get started. I look like I'm going to war. I got sleeves on, plastic sleeves, my gloves tied around. I got an apron on. I don't wear aprons, I'm ready. I wish I would have had a mask that day, but fuck it. So I'm ready. And then the position was awkward, but you gotta do what you gotta do. We get started. He's chilling. Everybody always asks me, like, oh, how did he take it? He was fine. He was too fine. Like, he was just sitting there. He barely said anything to me. I don't think he felt it. He had to be. I'm not gonna make any assumptions. But yeah, it took about 2 hours. We got through it. He did get erect. I will tell you that. He got erect. You're not supposed to, And at that point, I walked away. I'm like, we're taking a break. This was maybe halfway through. I'm like, we're taking a break. You need to relax. I'll be back. So I left. I came back. He had calmed down. We got back to work, and then yeah, there's my story. For the rest of my life, I can always talk about it.
He was like, oh, I want to get this tattoo done. And it was like a picture of a girl wearing a belt. And he was like, I want this belt tattooed on my stomach. And I'm like, so you want a belt around your whole stomach? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, this is weird. And then he was like, all right, well, I got some beers in my car. I'm like, okay. He's like, you want to get some beers right now? I'm like, no, I'm tattooing, bro. Like, what are you doing? Like 6 hours later, he was in front of the shop with his city bike, waiting for me to get out. Remember that shit?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what the fuck? This guy's like stalking me and shit.
We had this walk-up guy coming in, and he wanted his armpit tattooed, and I was like, hey, what do you want to get? And he was like, I want like lips with a tongue coming out and like a lettering around that was saying, lick my armpits or something. And I did it. I mean, he was really thankful for that. He was cool. I liked him. He was really chill.
This guy came in, he seemed normal, and then out of nowhere he started singing about lavender wings, or whatever the hell he was singing about. Sorry, can I curse? And then that led into him mildly getting aggressive, and it seemed that he had some sort of psychological issue. He was an EDP, emotionally disturbed person, which we didn't pick up on at first. And then he kind of like, I used my bouncer skills to lead him outside without him realizing that I was taking him outside with no intent of ever letting him back in. And then outside he was banging his head on the wall, and then, but he was really friendly. It was weird. He was getting violent, but he was very friendly. I'm not really sure. Eventually he walked away. He mumbled something about being Wolverine. I don't know. Maybe it was.
I mean, like I said, I worked in the hood, so I worked in Washington Heights. We had a bunch of crazy people come in. Like, I would have people just like on Percocets and like getting tattooed and like passing out, waking up in a panic, things like that, or just people wanting just weird shit.
This guy wanted a paper plane tattoo, which is like, you know, you do a paper plane and you like you keep the stencil around because you always do like a million of them. And it was like a paper plane tattoo and with a fighter jet shadow that he wanted on his mons. I'm not sure if the male is mons too, but on the mons flying towards his penis. And he wanted flying into his penis. And you know, so like he made the appointment with me, and like me and my one coworker, we were like joking about it. And I was like, what do you think it means? And she was like, oh, maybe it's like, you know, like, don't judge a book by its cover, like paper plane, but like fighter jet kind of attitude. Or like, and I was like, nah, I think it's like more like welcome to the cockpit type of thing. And so I asked him, like, you know, while I'm doing the tattoo, I'm like, so, like, what is this? You know, he said it's for his girl, which is always bullshit. But I was like, so what's this tattoo for? And he was like, oh, I can't even say it. Like, it's so bad. But he goes like, oh, it's for, you know, like a plane flying into like a tower. Like, my penis is the tower. And, like, I don't know if he knew what he was saying was like so fucked up. But like, that definitely the craziest tattoo I've done just because of like what that guy thought it meant. And I straight up was like, dude, just do like welcome to the cockpit. It's way more casual. Like, nobody will get offended.
What the craziest client I have had was in England, and I used to work at Evil from the Needle in Camden Town in 2004. This guy in St. Patrick's Day, I mean, I was only 3 years old tattooing, 4 years old tattooing at that time. He came in with 3 friends. They're all Irish and they're kind of feeling wasted, but I couldn't really tell. It was too early in the morning. And he wanted to get Mr. Robinson's and Mr. Williams' tattoo on his butt cheek. And I think the 2 guys, they were in a bet and he lost the bet. And then so he had to tattoo the 2 guys, the 2 misters' names on his butt. And I think that was the funniest and the weirdest tattoo I have done so far.
I worked in a street shop in Toronto when I was finished my apprenticeship, but otherwise still pretty new at tattooing. Living on walk-ins, hopefully, if they came in. And I had to kick out one guy at 10:30 in the morning because he was so drunk. I didn't know if he could actually sit up. And I tattooed him for an hour. I didn't even realize. And then he was lying down and I was like, all right, I got to sit you up now. And he leaned forward and I wouldn't be able to catch him. And so I had to kick him out. And he was so drunk that he forgot to pay me for the session. So he came back later thinking that I'd stolen from him. I was like, check your back, you got tattooed, like it's there.
So at the old shop, we used to have a giant 23-inch screen, Mac screen, just at the front of the shop where we would do all of our emails and stuff. And I had received an email that said, hey, I wanted to know if you guys did tattoos on intimate areas. And I was like, yeah, totally, like we'll do it. Like, what do you want? And so I sent him an email back. And you know, there's nothing wrong with getting your intimate areas tattooed. And so he asked it and he responds back and attaches a photo. Now, he attached an inline photo, so that means that it just like opens up like really big on our giant screen in front of all of our clients. And it was a picture of a porn star spreading his butt cheek open, and there was like a tribal sun like around his butthole. And this was like big, like it opened up really big, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And I closed it and was freaking out because I didn't know like what to do. I was like, I need to respond to this email, but I don't want everyone to see this butthole on my screen. And he ends up calling and is like, you can hear he's like super embarrassed on the line. He's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I just sent that email and realized I probably should have just typed it out. And I was like, yeah, it's okay, like, but do you still want to get it done? And he's like, yeah, can you ask people if they would do it? And I asked, and everybody was like, no. Which, you know, at the time, like, I wasn't tattooing, but if I was tattooing, I totally would have done it. That totally would have been like, hell yeah, I'll fucking tattoo a tribal sun around your butt. But that was weird. That was probably like the funniest thing I can remember, just because of just how shocked I was opening up the email from him and just seeing like, whoosh, like his butthole. I'm like, whoa, and just closing it. Hope that guy's doing good. I hope he found someone that was good to do that tattoo, because not only is a tribal sun like has a lot of margin for error to making it look bad, but when it's like around your butthole, I feel like you gotta make sure that thing looks like perfect. Hope that guy's Hope that guy's doing okay.